Hey, what's going on, guys? Justin Williams here, Dirt Time Adventures, and I want to start a new series today called Survival Trapping. So what I typically do when it comes to categorizing traps is I kind of break them down into about 5 different groups. So I'm going to take the next few weeks and highlight a couple of these different techniques for trapping wild game. Now, we're going to primarily be looking at primitive methods or survival methods on the fly. And so many of these techniques are illegal. So don't go out and get yourself in trouble and say that Mr. Dirt Time Justin Williams got you out there doing it, because go ahead and practice them, but make sure you break them down before you use them. So the 5 categories that I tend to put traps into are snares, and this would exclude any type of spring pole system, but snares, spring poles, dead falls, dead drops, and live traps. And so we're going to break those up over the coming weeks and focus on each of those 5 different categories for survival trapping. So there are multiple different ways of making snares, and it's definitely a huge benefit to you if you carry some picture wire or some type of snare wire. Today we're going to be using bright shiny wire, primarily so you can see the snare itself in the setups, but preferably I would be using some type of black or a coated type wire that's not as visible. The benefit to using wire over natural cordage is you're going to have less chew outs. There are some ways of getting around it by sliding like river cane or something over the end of your natural cordage on your natural snares, but you just can't beat a good wire snare. So I'm actually tucked up underneath a lot of real thick brush right now, because particularly small game like the security and comfort of being able to get away from larger predators in these tight confinements. So what I typically look for in a snare setup is a clear path or disturbance of ground where I can tell that smaller game have been going through that are particularly too narrow or too overgrown for larger game to get through. So we're right now in a big thick patch of privet, and we're using a mock scenario where an animal is traveling on this path here beside the privet in between a couple of these little shrubs. Alright, so we got our snare. Once again, I tend to leave a little section on there poking out, and that's just going to stab into the animal's neck and cause them to fight it more instead of just laying there relaxing and the noose sliding off. We do put a type of mechanical locking system on it by the way we create it, which we go into, like I said, a little more in depth in our actual course. But what I'm going to do here is use this mock animal trail. We see that it's built up a little bit more on one side, and what we can do to help funnel that animal is just continue to create disturbances that are going to keep him from coming over here. So we're going to create some fencing to help deter the animals from taking the other side. And you know, I'm just simply throwing some sticks up there right now. You could definitely make it a little more effective by adding more, but we're just going to simply attach our snare right here. I'm going to come around and tie it off. You can just wrap it like you would a bread, a loaf of bread. Let's wrap it around the back. Great thing about this snare wire too is it's easy to shape and to focus where we want it. Now that right there is staying perfectly on its own. Let's see if you can capture that. The animal is going to come running through here on the trail. Here's my snare loop. Of course, you're going to want to make it a little bit smaller since we're targeting smaller game. So this is a great setup for rabbits, for all kinds of ground squirrel, chipmunks, and even you're going to get into some big large mice and rats and stuff that you can catch with this. And you'd be surprised in a survival situation how tasty a rat might taste and sound to you once you get hungry enough. So once again, the animal comes scurrying through here, gets its head stuck in this noose, and he runs off. Now as it cinches down on him, he's going to begin to struggle and feel it tightening. As that happens, this little piece here is going to jab into him, and he will begin to fight it even more. The great thing about this type of setup is it's going to keep canines and other non-target animals out of it because of the thick overgrowth. And so, perfect little setup. If you're having problems getting your snare to stay like you want, you can use other sticks. Shove them in the ground, and you can use these sticks to help you with holding it into place. So now that stick will help keep it into place. And you can use little forked sticks, put one on each side. Like I said, create some fencing on this side here to help detour the animal from going that way. And there you have the basic snare setup. So here's another perfect example used for a snare. Now, once again, we're not focusing on any type of mechanism for setting the trap off. Just simply the animal's own force and its own energy. And that's the only thing that we're looking at for the basic snare. Now we'll show other methods of it with the spring pull and the dead drop, but these are basic setups that require no major mechanism for extracting or tightening the noose around its neck other than the animal's own force. And so this right here is the coat hanger bird snare. And so what you take is a simple tree branch that's wide off, and you put your snare right in the middle with a false perch. And we show how to carve this and different techniques for it as well. But essentially the bird will come in, flapping its wings, stick this on the outskirts of a field cropping or something, and he'll come into land. Here we put in a mock berry, but you can bait it or you can leave it as a basic perch, and the bird will come flying in, land on the perch will fall out and give way, and as the bird begins to drop, it's going to start to fly forward and get caught in the coat hanger bird snare. So that's another excellent version of using a snare and its animal's own force for catching it. So I want to demonstrate one more basic snare setup that's focused on centripetal force. Once again, the animal's own body movement is the mechanism which sets off the snare, the trap. And the centripetal force of the animal is what helps tighten the snare around its neck, leading to its eventual death. And so we've covered so far a basic blind set or trail set, where we set it along a game trail or an animal path in a densely vegetated area. We've showed a basic snare setup for a bird on a coat hanger setup, and now I want to show you a basic squirrel pull. These are all traps that I've been out there before, but keeping in the nature of this series, survival trapping, I want to cover even the most basic of setups. So there's nothing like a good squirrel pull to help ensure that you get food. And it's to me, one of the most effective ways of using a snare, because squirrels are like humans. They have this tendency and this nature within us to take the path of least resistance. And so what I have here is a mock squirrel pull, and you could do this same thing if there weren't any trees that were down or laid over. And so preferably you want to try to find trees where they've already fallen, they're leaning into other trees that are taking them higher up in the canopy. And so what that's doing is it's keeping the squirrel from having to climb straight up the tree. They're taking the path of least resistance, running up the squirrel pole and getting up higher into the canopy. And so I love squirrel poles because, once again, you have a lot higher success rate whenever it comes to the centrifugal force, because they're falling off of the squirrel pole as they fight the snare, and eventually they're hanging themselves. You know, it seems gruesome and it seems ugly, but animals die in far worse ways in nature all the time. And so when it comes to survival, you know, it really comes down to your life or theirs. But in practical purposes, once again, don't set these. These are for training purposes only. Don't leave them set up, because we really don't want to injure these animals. We want to protect and sustain the life of the forest. And so what you do is you take your snare, hopefully you can see that, and you're just going to place it on your squirrel pole. I'll lower it a little bit so you guys can see it, and wrap it around and tie it on itself. And you can stage these in various places up and down the squirrel pole, because squirrels don't always run straight up it. Sometimes they run on the sides. So just stage multiple different snares on it on one pole, and you got a lot higher chance of capturing your prey. Thanks for checking out another video of Dirt Time Adventures. And once again, I just want to highly encourage you, be sure to be checking with your state and local laws, and making sure you check with your Game and Fish Commissions and your Department of Natural Resources to make sure that you're not breaking any laws when you're out training and practicing these skills. So the beautiful thing about a trapping video or any type of, you know, primitive food procurement, you're going to take heat. So I'm going to take heat from the PETA people. I can't believe you want to kill precious little chipmunks and squirrels. But then I'm going to take heat from the hardcore survivalists that are be like, you should get out there and test your skills and set out those traps and make sure they work, and the heck with the game and fish and the game wardens. And so there's no winning for losing. I put out my videos for educational purposes, and take what you want. Get out there, like I said. You you can't please everybody. So guys, as you're out there as well making videos, be sure to use good judgment, and as always, keep it fun, uplifting, and encouraging. I didn't think I was going to mention this, because I thought it might draw out the video, and I didn't want to take away from the educational purposes. But I do want to say that there is a war behind the scenes going on in the survival community and, you know, sustainable living. Let's just be honest. Let's just call it what it is. It's a war. There are people out there that want to see you and I fail when it comes to doing the things we love, when it comes to sustainable living and primitive skills. And I'm kind of really bothered this week by a story I heard. And I've never met the lady before in my life, but I've heard nothing but amazing things about her. I've watched a lot of her videos, and her name is Natalie Bogwalker. And she's taking a lot of heat right now for offering and teaching a humane, you know, animal dispatch and butchering course. And if guys like us don't speak up against it, then it's just going to continue to happen. And so, Natalie, you got all of our support here at Dirt Time Adventures, and you know, you're an inspiration to a lot of us. And I'm praying for you, and I hate to hear what's going on with these movements that are coming against sustainable living groups like yours. And so know that you're in our thoughts and our prayers and our memories, and we just have to stick together as a community of primitive skills and sustainable living. We have to stick together. And I hate it because in the survival industry it seems like it's a dog-eat-dog world where I'm from so-and-so's camp, I'm from this group, I'm from this group, my group's better than yours, your skills are insufficient, you're a Mick Dojo or a Mick Survival School. And guys, let's get honest with each other and let's stop fighting each other and let's work together. I've been talking to a buddy of mine up in Colorado. He runs a survival school out there, and we're kind of throwing some thoughts off each other. And guys, it's not about trying to beat everybody or be better than anybody else. It's about developing your own skills and creating a lifestyle that's going to help you live in a way that gives you fulfillment, passion, and purpose. And so no matter what you're doing, as long as you are finding peace in it, and you're inspiring, encouraging, and pouring into others, more power to you, man. And I really feel that that's the type of personality Natalie Bogwalker has, and that she's just got a kindred spirit, and I hate to see the things that are coming against her. So I encourage you, show your support, shoot her a line, tell her you're thinking about her, and be sure to share, subscribe, and as always, guys, keep it practical, primitive, and prepared. Third Time Adventures. Peace out. Brother, come on.